All right, what's happening, everyone? Welcome to another episode of VMFC. And of course, you can probably tell I am joined by a guest, the very first guest of VMFC, Chris Sued. I hope I got that name right. My man, how are you?
Yeah, you got it. I'm all right. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. Thank you for joining me. Let's address the elephant in the room here, the Chelsea jersey. You're a Chelsea fan, right?
Yeah, man. That's my passion. That's my team.
So,
Uh,
yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
no, I've been following for a while now. I've been following for over 10 years, ever since Drogba was there and had that commercial for the World Cup. I've been following ever since. So I got that Champions League. That was the happiest day of my life to this day. And yeah, I've seen a couple Premier League titles. That's my passion. I'm gonna follow till forever.
Man, you've been pretty fortunate actually because Chelsea won in the past decade they won it in 2010, 2015 and 2017 if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Wow. Fortunate man. Um so
I see
now I
Mourinho
just
come back.
Mourinho came back and he won the title but then he got kicked out almost immediately. Um so yeah, man, just tell us a little bit about yourself. Your background. I know when we spoke as we were preparing for the show, you told me about your background and it's super interesting. So just tell the people where you come from, where you're from and all that good stuff.
So I'm from Queens, New York. I'm Dominican and Lebanese, but I was born and raised in Queens, New York, which is considered like a melting pot of cultures over here. There's a lot of different like cultures and people who celebrate and come from different places around the world. And I was lucky enough to go to high school here, and my friends were a Greek soccer player and an Indonesian soccer player, a striker in the midfield, and they got me right into it. They showed me this guy Ronaldinho, and I was like, oh man! As soon as they showed me that first Joga Bonito commercial, it was over, man. It was like magic. I had to see more. Anybody who saw that had to see more. So from there, I didn't really have a team. I followed Barcelona because of Ronaldinho, but I wouldn't consider myself a fan. And then they told me about this guy, Cristiano Ronaldo, and I was in 2008. So I got to see his Ballon d'Or season in the EPL, and that was amazing. Just to see the technique, the dribbling, the shooting, the pizzazz, the haircuts. It was amazing, man. Amazing. And
Absolutely.
yeah, I actually got to see Chelsea lose that Champions League final. I was rooting as just like a neutral, and they kind of won me over from their performance because Drogba got sent off, and they still, took it to OT, took it to penalties. So I was like, damn, this team is crazy. But saw Terry slip up, and I felt bad for him. But like I said, I was a Ronaldo fan, so couldn't feel too bad at the time.
That's a very fascinating background that you come from. Of course, the Dominican Republic isn't necessarily known for soccer, even though they do have a superstar now in Mariano, but they're known more for like baseball and stuff like that. But still, man, it just shows the power of the beautiful game. It makes people fans immediately. If you watch it with an open mind, you're gonna become a fan, and that's what happened with you. And I'm glad you became a fan, man, because that's how we met up. That's how we became acquaintances because of the beautiful game, right? So now we're gonna talk about the beautiful game that isn't happening right now, and there's a lot of stuff going on outside of the pitch, but of course, Chris, you know exactly what's going on, and you know that the Dutch league has officially canceled its season. The Belgian league was first to cancel its season, and now the Dutch league, the Eredivisie, has canceled their 2019-2020 season. No champion, no relegation. Ajax is going to be the team that's going to go to the Champions League playoff. So even though that's not a league that we follow, it is pretty important because there's a big team that plays there. So I don't know, what was your thought process as you heard that news that one of the big leagues in Europe canceled its season?
At first, it was shock because there's a lot on the line in that league. Personally, I mean, I was following Ajax since last year when they had that miracle run in the Champions League, and we ended up buying ZX. So in February, so I started following even more, and they had a pretty clear path to the title until this team, I believe it's Feyenoord. They won 12. They had 12 games in a row where they're unbeaten. So and now they're tied with them on goals, points, everything. It's rough. At first I was stunned, but it makes sense just safety wise at this time. We don't really know what's going to happen, and the only leagues that have really been opening are the leagues that had a preemptive like measure against this unknown. So yeah, I could see a lot of leagues following suit because we don't really know what's going to happen right now.
Yeah, and now that you mentioned that a lot of leagues could follow these footsteps, the French league, we're recording this, full disclosure, we're recording this on Tuesday the 28th. Today's the 28th. This is going to come out the 29th.
Yeah.
So Tuesday the 28th, in the morning, our time over here in the States, the French government says that no sporting events can be held up until September 1st over in France. So that immediately eliminated the possibility of the French league, both first division and second division, to come back to play their 2019-2020 season. And eventually, I mean, a couple hours after the French government made that announcement, the French league canceled its season. So that's one of the top European leagues that cancels completely. And it's kind of funny because just a couple of days ago, we were getting excited because the Bundesliga is this close to coming back. And even like a couple minutes before we started recording, the Bundesliga they're making their way to come back. And now the French league is like, all right, well, we're not going to play. So how much do you think that decision is going to affect these other leagues?
Yeah, I think, like I said, it depends on how the country itself, the corresponding countries of these leagues, how they acted. Because I can't see England avoiding their season.
Mm-hmm.
I like, for example, I can't see a lot of different leagues avoiding their season, but right now the unthinkable is happening around the world, so it's really tough to predict. Places like Italy, I can't see restarting. France, where this virus really hit hard, it's really tough to see how they can come back, even in a sense of coming back with empty stadiums, because having the test for all these different players and the amount of teams and the amount of players they would have to have the test for, it's not looking likely right now, unless you're in a league where it really your hands are really tied and you have to play these games, such as, I mean, like England is looking like they have no choice right now.
Yeah, and the biggest reason, and I don't think people mention this enough, the biggest reason why these leagues have to come back to action is because of the sponsors. I'm pretty sure in their contracts it says if you don't play like a certain amount of games, then we can't give you that money that we promised. So of course the leagues aren't and the teams aren't going to want to miss out on those millions and millions of euros or pounds or wherever, depends whatever part of the world they're in. They're not going to want to miss out on those sponsors. They're not going to want to miss out on the broadcasting rights and all the money that they can make, because the Premier League is known for that deal that they signed for the broadcasting rights a few years ago, and they make each team makes so much money. That's why you've seen teams like Stoke City make signings like Shaqiri and Arnautovic, but they just don't want to miss out. And like you said, these teams and these leagues have their hands tied. They have to go back. They have to go back to play. We'll talk about the Bundesliga in detail in a few minutes, but I was watching a show earlier today where they were talking about Schalke, one of the bigger teams, one of the bigger clubs in Germany, potentially being in a very, very deep economic crisis. We're talking about one of the bigger teams in the Bundesliga. They could go broke in a matter of months if this league does not restart. So now you're looking at players not getting paid. You're looking at staff not getting paid. You're looking at teams potentially just disappearing because they don't have any money. Businesses are going to be completely disappearing, right? So, I mean, you hit it right on the head, man. These people have their hands tied and they have to go back to normal. And I mean, it's scary, man, because like, let me ask you for example, let's say that, I don't know, you were like a 15, 16-year-old and school was canceled for you and you're afraid because you can contract the virus, and they tell you in a couple of weeks, all right, you can return back. Like it's fine. You can come back. Would you be completely confident going in there? Like, yeah, nothing's going to happen. No, you're going to be kind of scared, right?
Yeah, you'd be scared out of your mind, depending on where you are. But I mean, it's all over the world, so not even. It's a scary time.
Yeah, it's just a scary, scary time. And we talked about Europe a lot right now, but in Colombia, the government in Colombia has said no soccer, no massive events for the remainder of 2020. Argentina, one of the most passionate countries in the world, and we had a very fun conversation about Argentina when we first spoke a couple of days ago. Argentina they canceled their season too. So, I mean, this is showing that this, it's a pretty big deal. It's a really, really big deal. But yeah, I mean,
for Argentina to cancel their soccer, it's beyond anything. That's like religion there. So I don't know what else you can say.
Just imagine those poor people that are waiting for Sunday to finally arrive to go to the stadium and watch their team play. They haven't been able to do that for over a month. Oh my God. It's terrible. Yeah, it's terrible for them. But moving on now, talking about leagues that could potentially come back. The Bundesliga. We talked about the Bundesliga, some of the problems that they were facing, but the Bundesliga has created a plan for them to return on May 9th, to return to full action on May 9th. On the surface, it looks like a very reasonable plan. The players are going to be quarantined, but like in between games. There's going to be like no intercourse between them and their partners. No touching. They can't like high five their teammates. Any of that. There's going to be like distancing on the bench and stuff like that. And of course, they're going to get tested before every game. But let me ask you this: do you think that, just putting all the economics aside, putting the money aside, the business aside, do you think it's irresponsible for the Bundesliga to plan to come back in such a short time?
No, only because of who's in charge out in Germany. Germany had a head start on how to prevent this, how to be smart about how to react to this, and I believe their president was a scientist of some sort, so he may have had a reasonable, logical way of responding to this, where it's not about making money necessarily right away and keeping everything open and keeping everything susceptible to the virus, where they had a head start on reacting to this in a positive way. So their plan for coming back, I'm sure it's in the most safe possible way, and it's in a responsible way. It's going to be actually a way where other leagues who are opening should really keep an eye on, because they're really going to do this the right way. At least that's what I believe.
Yeah, they've had a head start to pretty much everything because they've, like you said, their prevention has been pretty good. I mean, they have lost some lives. That's kind of inevitable in a pandemic, but they've been doing their absolute best to prevent more people dying. So if they can control, I think the kids might have even gone back to school in Germany already. So I kind of base my like all of this analysis on that. If the kids can go back to school, then maybe the players can can go back to, well, they're back to training.
Yeah.
And that's the most important thing, because a lot of people, for whatever reason, just thought that, as like, let's just say, for example, there was a time frame set, and the players were told, all right, well, you're going to start playing May 2nd, which is this Saturday. People just thought that they were just going to get back to playing. It's not like that. They needed like 2 weeks to get back into conditioning and stuff like that, because it is hard to come back.
They probably need more than 2 weeks, but they're gonna rush it, and it's gonna be. I mean, we don't know the how this is gonna play out. If people get hurt after this season, it's gonna be a very weird year. It's gonna be tough, and especially for teams or players who are coming off of expiring contracts. Like, for example, one of my guys, if Willian Pedro plays this year and they tear their hamstring the last day of the season, what ends up happening? If Sancho ends up playing and then Sancho tears his ACL, was it worth it? It depends. It's all going to be up for debate, and how they do this. I can see them playing league games and canceling cup games, playing about three games a week, and coming back in Germany and doing it in probably fanless stadiums, empty stadiums, where they're just playing just the players. So it's going to be, they retrieve some of the broadcasting money because we get to watch it, but it's going to be probably done in a safe and fast way where they end this really fast.
Yeah, because they kind of just want to get through with this season that was cut short. Technically, what has been said a lot in these last couple of weeks is that they don't want to ruin 2 seasons, right? They don't want to overlap this season onto next season and then ruin next year's calendar. So, like you said, they just want to get through with it as quick as possible. But then again, if you're rushing players, you're completely right, man, because some of these players, if they get hurt and they're quote unquote free agents after this season, then that just kind of ruins their chances of signing with a big team, signing with a big club. So it's so much to think about. We've never seen anything like this. But once again, if there's someone that these other leagues should look at, is definitely the Bundesliga, because they do it right. And they're actually one of the more healthy leagues, speaking business-wise and economically. They're doing okay. To some extent now, of course, without much activity. And actually, look, I have ESPN FC pulled up, and USMNT keeper Zach Steffen injures knee again, and he plays in Germany. So he came back to training, and he hurt his knee. So there you go. There's one injury already. Yeah. I mean, it didn't take too long. This is actually from yesterday, so from Monday. That's going to be something to monitor. Of course, a lot of these players could. I mean, I wish them no harm, but it's likely that they're going to get hurt, and it's going to suck for us because the spectacle and the whole show is going to suffer. But yeah, man, I think that the Bundesliga might be doing it right. Hopefully, I mean, it kind of just works like this, right? If they do it well, everyone's going to praise them. If someone gets sick, they're going to be the evil. They're just going to be the evil people who were greedy and they wanted to get back as soon as possible without looking at the consequences and without looking at the full picture. So it's risky. It's a risky move by the Bundesliga, but good for them for stepping up and wanting to bring back some sort of I mean, normal is normal even a thing now, Yeah,
it's some joy. Honestly, it's just something to watch, man. Something to spectate and look forward to. It's like baseball in World War II. We needed something, man. So I mean, just that alone, you got to try. Even if not for the bottom dollar, you got to at least try to make people happy somehow.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you can only watch so much YouTube and so many highlights. It gets boring after a while. You need to watch some live sports. But yeah, let's move on now to talk again a little bit about Europe. And let me ask you this. We talked about both sides of the spectrum. We talked about leagues that have completely canceled their seasons and leagues who are willing to come back. Now let's talk about some of the leagues that we haven't really discussed right now: the Spanish League, the Italian League, and the Premier League. Out of those three leagues, which one do you think is more likely to follow the Dutch league and the Belgian and the French league's footsteps and cancel their season?
You said La Liga, EPL, and what was the third one?
The Serie
Serie
A,
A?
yes.
Serie A has to. It
Mhm.
has to be Serie A, just because of the how bad it's affecting the country there. How I mean, it's a great season. It's a shame it has to end this way, just because Inter Milan was finally leading with Juventus and coming back, and Conte had his boys, raging, and it was a real tight race first time in at least 7 years. But I mean, of those three, you have to cancel Serie A, just because La Liga has so much broadcasting rights with BN, and the EPL has their broadcasting rights with NBC and Sky Sports and BT Sport. It's Serie A has to be the odd man out there. Has
Yeah.
to.
Yeah, and it's just, I mean, it's pretty obvious too, because of the whole situation and how it hit them and how it hit their economy and their population. So yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you. If there's one league that's gonna completely cancel its season, it's probably the the Serie A. But here, let me offer you this: what if the Premier League is just pressured into not playing? Not maybe not so much an external pressure, like an actual pressure from someone to tell them not to play, but the pressure of them being the league that messes everything up for everyone. Them being the league that pushed the boundaries a little bit too much, and people started getting sick again. And they don't want to be that villain. Do you think maybe the Premier League's like, all right, you know what? I'm just not going to play. We're not going to play anymore. We'll only play when it's safe, and we don't want to be the villains here.
I think there's no way. I think they'll be villains if they have to, man. It's way too much at stake. The teams lose a combined £1 billion. That's too much. That's a number that they can't come back from. Even the EPL, they don't know how to handle the broadcasting disaster that it would be, because NBC has 1 year left on that 5-year deal that they signed originally. So do they tack on 3 months at the end of the deal? That would be the summer anyway. So they don't know how to come back. They don't know what to do if they stop it. So they have to come back somehow. Even if it's a World Cup style where it's closed and they go to Azerbaijan, you know what I mean? If they go to Zimbabwe, they would have to go somewhere where it's closed off and have this World Cup style. They'll do it because they have to get this money somehow. It's just too much money. Even the EPL can't come back financially, anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, again, it's so much to think about. That's definitely not a position that I envy. The people that have to make those crazy, crazy decisions. But again, we just talked about all these leagues. What about the Champions League? It's just the last game that I remember watching was Liverpool against Atletico, and what a game that was. But the Champions League, I mean, are we just gonna literally gonna be a World Cup style with no second leg, just one game playoff and that's it? Or is the Champions League just gonna be forgotten for this season and on to next season? I mean, what the hell's gonna happen?
Yeah, I think the risk. I mean, first off, you would have to think about who cancels. So if Serie A cancels, teams like who the teams that are in, like Atlanta, Juve, they're done. So what happens there from the teams that are playing them? I think Atlanta actually has a lead on somebody right now.
They advanced to
And
the quarterfinals. Actually,
yeah, they're
they would
beating
have been through.
Valencia.
Yeah.
They're beating Valencia.
Hmm.
What happens there? Does Valencia qualify? I think it's. And then what happens regarding travel? Do teams have to go to Spain and come back and take the risk of traveling, and then keep playing the teams that they're playing in their rushed leagues that they're trying to get through? It's too big too big a ask. I think the Champions League is a luxury as it is. So expecting that to come back and work is not realistic. I think we just have to try to open these leagues, forget the cups, and try to get this done as safe and as fast as we can, so we could save next year. Because like you said, the main thing is hoping that this only affects this season. We're already essentially done with this season if we have another 2 weeks of just straight 2-3 weeks of just straight playing. So if we just could hold off and preserve next year, that would be awesome. Because imagine we don't play till December. That'll be terrible, man.
Yeah, and I love what you said about the Champions League right now. The Champions League is a luxury. So we shouldn't even be thinking about the Champions League so much, because it is a luxury. When you're in this situation, you're not gonna rush it, like you said, and especially if you're playing a rushed league where you're playing 3 games a week, which is insane. And then you still have to play the Champions League. It's incredible. It is really incredible how much of a monkey wrench was thrown into all of the plans. But real quick before we finish off the show, let me ask you this, and this is just a hypothetical question that I'm asking you, and answer it, 1 as a Chelsea fan, and 2 as a neutral. What were to happen if the Premier League is, for whatever reason, things get worse? I hope not, knock on wood. Things get worse, Premier League cannot continue. Would you be okay as a Chelsea fan to see Liverpool be awarded the title that they were going to win eventually? They by this time they would have probably been like champions for like a month already. Would you be okay as a Chelsea fan to see Liverpool win their first ever Premier League, or would you be pissed off? And now, as a neutral, what would you think about that? The floor is yours.
I think either way, that's not something they want on their CV. I don't think they want it that way. I don't think they wanted a shortened season. But even if they take it that way, we'll always hold that against them that they weren't champions. We'll say you never held up the title, you never had the parade. What title are you even talking about? So they can do whatever they want. It's over for that title. Sorry. They got to try next year and hope Man City and my boys aren't coming for you, because it's over for this year. Even if you take that title, it's not yours.
And as a neutral, how would you answer that?
I don't know. I think I would have to still agree that that title isn't theirs. I mean, you would say, yeah, look, they what was going to happen? They had 2 games to win. So yeah, that mathematically, and even if you saw how they were playing to the eye, they looked unstoppable. You know, they had just lost their first game not too long ago. They were looking invincible. So yeah, they definitely were gonna win the title. But the fact that if we stop right now, if they don't lift the cup, if they don't have their parade, if they don't have Steven Gerrard saying, "Oh my gosh, we got a title here in Liverpool," what does it matter? Like, yeah, you're champions in theory, but not in actuality.
I mean, you present very valid points right there. That's something that I can't really argue. But still, you know, Liverpool fans, even if they were to be awarded that title, they'd still celebrate it like there was no tomorrow. They probably celebrated more than the Champions League from last season. So.
Yeah, they got a couple of Champions Leagues. That's why we can't talk about them too much. But I mean, we start getting to Arsenal, Tottenham, then we could talk about, you know, not having nothing. But Liverpool, you got to respect their Champions Leagues, you know.
Yeah, they're definitely one of the big clubs in Europe. Let me just put this in perspective for people who forgot, because I know I certainly forgot the dominance that Liverpool had this entire season. If you take away Liverpool and their 82 points from the Premier League, you have Manchester City would be leading with 57. Leicester City would be in second place with 53 points. And Chelsea would be in third place with 48. So they would only be, 9 points away from first place. Should Liverpool not have taken that ridiculous lead and win, like, I don't know how many games in a row. They've lost once in 29 games.
Yeah, they look solid, man. That back four specifically is just there's no holes, man. They all play with the ball at their feet. They all know how to defend. They're all there, just ready for it. And Alisson is ready for it too. So that's the key. Speaking from experience, that's the key to any championship winning side is that defense.
Absolutely. Repetition. A lot of repetition.
Yeah.
Those guys know each other very, very, very well. All right. My guy, Chris, thank you so much for joining. You're the first ever guest on VMFC. So thank you and congratulations.
It's an
Thank you.
honor, man.
Of course. You want to plug away your social media? The floor is yours.
It's just Chris Solodolo at Facebook. Add me. We'll talk about soccer, Chelsea, all that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You already know. Follow me on Twitter and on Instagram at Alex Perez FC. Once again, thank you so much for doing this. We'll do it again sometime soon. And as for everyone watching, take care. Wash your hands. Wash your face. Don't touch your face. Goodbye. If you enjoyed this video, remember to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more sports content. If you want to support the brand, you can go ahead and donate $1 to our Patreon, patreon.com/veteransminimum. That will get you exclusive content and merch.